Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome to a massive announcement for Spellweaver. Huge announcement. There is going to be a $5,000 invitational, including 16 high-profile players from Hearthstone and Magic, and it is going to be hosted by Noxious. This is a really big deal, publicity-wise. And I think will be a very big step in the right direction as far as the game is concerned. Now, what this probably also means is we're probably going to get a balance patch before this happens. So, considering it is going to happen, let's see if I can find the actual date, on the 20th of March, I think that if they're doing a balance patch, they are going to do it in the next week. And if they don't release a new patch by probably Monday, next Monday, so Monday the 7th, I don't think they're going to be balancing this month. But anyway, so besides that, as far as the list of players is concerned, since we have not all of them, but we've got the majority of the players. How many do we actually have here? 10 players? Yeah, we've got 10 of the 16 players taking part. We've got so far Ecop, D2, Nimsh, PV, DDR, Dart, Hopform, Ponyhoff, Mr. Scottymac, Stan Sifka, and VLPS, or Velps. Never quite figured out how to say his name. But anyway, so from what I can tell, most of these are just really big streamers on either Magic or Hearthstone side, or in the case of Stan Sifka, both, because he is very widely known in both communities. Some of the people which I think are very recognizable from Hearthstone, people like Nimsh, Ecop, Hotform, D2, Dart, things like that. Whereas I think the names I don't recognize are probably Magic streamers, because I don't tend to follow the streaming side of Magic much, just more the tournament side. But anyway, I think having Noxious hosting it is actually a very big deal, because it means that the tournament is going to get thousands of people watching just on the default. And including the roster of players, I think this is going to be a very big event. So, something else this tells us is how they're doing prizing for Swiss tournaments from now on, because the format is the same as Asperia. It's actually the Asperia Invitational, well, both of them, was basically a run up to this, so they sorted out all the kinks and they figured out how to do prizing and things like that. So what they've decided on, and I think this is a good move if they're going to use Swiss for invitationals. Personally, I think that using just Swiss for invitationals is a bit anticlimactic, but it's not too bad. So what they're doing is they're doing Conquest, best of 3 with a ban and 4 copy maximum with 4 round Swiss. Then, to avoid tiebreak issues, they're dishing out prizes based on number of wins. So if you get 4 wins, you get the 1500, which is the maximum, and there's only going to be one person with 4 wins. Then there are 3 people with 3 wins, that's second, third, and fourth, and they all get $500 each. And then everyone with 2 wins gets 250, and that's 8 players. So that totals out to $5,000, which is a lot. It's by far and away the most we've seen for Spellweaver so far. I mean, we had first place in Asperia's was in-game currency, but that was its monetary value was something like $60, if I recall. It may be slightly more than that, but that's just in-game currency as well. This is more than that. It's an actual proper money prize, and it's also, 15 times more for first place, or more than any of the other tournaments we've had. So this is a huge step in the right direction. Now, we actually don't know what the sponsors are for this tournament. So, yeah, it'd be nice to get an announcement on that in the future. Keep in mind, this is 3 weeks from now. So, I think the 6 players that are going to complete out the roster, and then also the sponsors will be announced closer to the date. Now, as far as the format goes, I actually think that for Swiss, this is the best format you can do. Best of 3 Conquest, ban, 4 copies is the best one we've seen so far. Conquest on its own has some serious faults, which I have talked about in the past, but I think with a ban it adds another layer of strategy, because you can build your lineup keeping in mind that you can ban one type of deck, and the 4 copy restriction means that you're kind of forced to diversify your decks, which limits the impact of very overpowered decks. Because sort of say, if there are two tier 1 decks, actually, perfect example of this, two tier 1 decks, which was Elves and Dominion Implants, or just Dominion decks in general, Implants being probably the most prominent, and then you had a bunch of tier 2 decks. Even if you bring both tier 1 decks, you won't be able to play one of them. So depending on the player, they get to choose what they don't want to play against, and it offers a lot of diversity in that regard. The 4-copy rule also encourages a lot of strategic deck building along with the ban, where you can bring sort of homebrews that are very, very good in certain situations. Like we had some Tempo Wisdom decks show up in Asperia to varying degrees of success, but because of the way the metagame works out, you can actually get more obscure decks to work, so I think that's a very, very good way of doing it. This is something which they actually have made a thread on, which I feel like we should look at while we're on the topic. Anyway, so they made a thread talking about the tournament system, since they've got everything sort of nailed out now, or hammered out, I guess, and they've fixed all the issues. So all the issues we had with Asperia, basically they've all been fixed. So the invitational registration thing's been fixed. The 3-deck problem's been fixed. Tournaments bugging out's been fixed. They figured out how to do prizes, things like that. So it was all just sort of lead up to this event. And they kind of hinted at this for a while. They said there's something much, much bigger coming after Asperia. So yeah, they used the Asperia Invitational as a kind of test run. Now, as far as the systems goes, Swiss, they explain how tiebreaks work and things like that, but it seems like they're just avoiding tiebreak problems when it comes to wins. They're using points instead, so that you don't get what happened in Asperia, where second place, I mean, I got second, but second place got more prizes than third and fourth, even though it's just on tiebreak. And on the week before, I got third when I had exactly the same run, which was win, 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 lost to first. And then I got third just because of how tiebreaks work. It's very, very strange. So they're just avoiding tiebreaks entirely. It's just point-based now, which I think is actually much, much better. Now, tiebreaks will still be around as far as standings are concerned, but in terms of prizes, which actually matters, it won't be a problem at all. But anyway, as far as a single game goes, it's just basically like playing on ladder, but you have to keep the same deck for 4 rounds or 5 rounds or how many there are in the tournament. And for Conquest, they're sticking to this 4 copies combined for each card apart from primary shrines. All have to use different heroes, and you can ban one of the heroes. I find this image quite funny actually, because it's got Crip and Ivko with very, very low levels because they don't use the main server much. That was Exotic that was actually saying that the devs don't actually use the main server all that much because they're busy using the test server. But anyway, so this is a big, big announcement, and if this event goes well, then I think the game itself is going to do very, very well in the next couple of months at least, because this is, you know, sort of thousands of people coming into the game. This is basically going to be more publicity than I think the game has already got all in one event, which is just nuts. So this is going to be a huge, huge event, and I'm very, very happy that this kind of thing's happening. And if it goes well, then it'll be happening more in the future, and then we get more people playing the game and more people actually interacting with the game, and that's good for everyone. But anyway, bit of a short video, but that's about all on the announcement. We still haven't heard from some of the other people that have sort of looked at the game but haven't covered it yet, like Total Biscuit, who was talking about Spellweaver briefly on a podcast actually, and he may or may not cover it. We have no idea at this point, but he has mentioned it, so maybe he might cover it in that regard. We've also seen a lot of these players that are taking part, if they do like the game enough, may do a couple streams on it. I think that in some people's cases, they won't, simply because they get a lot more publicity and a lot more viewers streaming either Magic or Hearthstone, but you never know. With a lot of streamers, it's just whatever they happen to be playing at the time. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, want to ask me any questions, put it in the comment section below. But as for now, it's been Jotto, signing off.